Congrats! You found your way to the Cactus Atlas. In our last video, we made the long drive south into Nevada, heading for Great Basin National Park. We did a quick initial explore, but saved the real adventure for today after settling in for a night of camping.
So being as though we're in the middle of nowhere, I had to make my own coffee this morning, which I don't mind at all. It's easy to do. It's just cleaning up the mess that sucks. But I knew last night when I got here, if you watched our last episode and we checked this out, I knew that I was gonna have coffee here by the stream this morning. I mean, how could you not? That's good. I kind of started a trend on a lot of our episodes where I was reviewing gas station cappuccinos and coffees. And then starting yesterday, we were in such a remote region that I couldn't find anywhere. There was just nothing. So by the time I found something, it was pretty late in the day, so I just went without coffee yesterday. Didn't feel right. And today, we're up here in the national park and there's really nothing that I know of down below. So I made my own, which is good because it ensures that it has that punch me in the face strength that I like. I shouldn't say it's that strong. It's stronger than gas station coffee, but I do have my limits. And I got to sleep last night to the sound of this all night long. And the sound was so good that I didn't hear it because I was so deep asleep. I fell asleep early and I got maybe the best sleep of the trip. And I've been sleeping good, mind you, so to say it was the best is definitely saying something. So what do I have in store for this episode? Well, some good news. I don't have to break down camp for once, so we get just to start off in a leisurely way, i.e. here by the stream. And from here, I have a couple activities planned for the day. One required a reservation, and it's a cave tour, the Lehman Caves, further down the mountain, basically. I have a 2 p.m. call time with I think either a 2:15 or 2:30 p.m. cave tour. I'm doing one called the Parachute Shield Tour. It's a feature that I saw. I saw what it looks like. It's pretty cool. And I want to say it's an hour-long tour. There's a longer one, but that was completely booked. So I figured we'd get what we could get. We're gonna do that. And then this morning I was supposed to get up even earlier than I did. I got up around 7 a.m. Pacific time now. And I wanted to go up to the top of the mountain and hike what's supposed to be a pretty easy loop trail to a couple alpine lakes. And they have a bristlecone pine forest that I was considering too. I'm not sure I'm gonna do that on this one. Depends on time. But I went up there yesterday, if you watched last week's episode, and it was in the afternoon in the warmest part of the day, and it was chilly up there. We were and this hike is at about 10,000 feet. So I figured I didn't really bring really good warm clothes on this trip. I underestimated and didn't think about things like that. So I figured I'd just wait for things to warm up a bit and maybe flip-flop, maybe try it in the afternoon instead of the morning. And then I have 2 more campgrounds to do drive-thrus for. Down at the very bottom, I think we got to go down to the bottom of the park to find them. And then I'm done with the campground drive-thrus for this park. I got 2 of them done yesterday. This campground, Upper Lehman Campground, and then Wheeler Peak Campground. I was supposed to do them today, but I saved us time so we could play more and drink coffee by the stream. All right, I think maybe let me show you around the place really quick before we head on out. This will just take a second. Show you why I love this campsite so much. First of all, I love the driveway because I could pull it all the way back and I get a shaded canopy almost all day long for my truck. Not that I'm here most of the time, but and then over here, basically you get a stand-up grill, a fire ring with a grill attached to it. A lot of these sites seem to have 2 picnic tables. I don't know why, but I'll take it. And then this awesome spot for a tent. I don't know if I call it a tent pad per se, but I guess you could. But it's just a perfectly level, big spot. You know, you could put a much bigger tent in there. That's a 6-person tent that I'm in. The or maybe it's a 4. It's a REI Base Camp 4, so it's probably a 4-person tent rather. Excuse me. But it's plenty big for me. So you could probably get an 8, 10-person tent, I bet, pushing the periphery of that thing, but it's nice and far back. And I do have some folks that actually did show up. They're over there. So the spacing is already good, I would say, especially for a national park. But because my tent is so far back here anyway, it's like, you know, that even puts me further away. And then you have that stream, the sound of that stream just lullabying you to sleep at night. It's kind of white noise that might cover up. I can't even hear people talk in here. Like, it's like there's just no voices. I feel alone, even though I'm not. But that's really, all of these things combined, I think, are putting Upper Lehman Campground at the top of my list, I would say, for favorite campground of the 2025 Camp View Northern Tour here on the Cactus Atlas. So I drove all the way up here to like right next to Wheeler Peak Campground, where I think this will be the trailhead that I need. There's another parking spot that goes to the Summit Trail, but I don't think that's correct. So I'm gonna make sure this is it, but my fear that there wouldn't be parking up here at this time was unwarranted. There's plenty of parking. It's approaching 9 a.m. So there's a hike that goes out to 2 of the Alpine Lakes, a short loop, a couple miles, I think. It's my speed at this point in time, so I just need to find a sign to confirm. I think on the first try I may have found it, the Bristlecone Alpine Lakes trailhead. So there's an ancient bristlecone pine forest where you got 5,000-year-old trees. We've seen those things before on the Eastern Sierra, or kind of east of the Eastern Sierra, I think. But basically what we want to do, so let's see here. We are probably right here. And what I want to do is this guy. We want to go to Stella Lake and then Teresa Lake. So I don't know if there's a preferred direction, but it looks like we start here and we'll just go counterclockwise, I guess. Why not? So there's more adventurous things like summiting Wheeler Peak over 13,000 feet. But if you're new here, just understand that I went through cancer treatment, very successful treatment. They say I'm gonna live. But so I gotta start easy, and we're up at 10,000 feet just about. I think we came down a little bit, but basically, yeah, I'm still feeling amazing, but I'm not ready to be summiting any 13,000 foot peaks. Instead, we're gonna do a slow cook today and just kind of enjoy this alpine marvel up here in the middle of a sagebrush desert of Nevada. You would never know that this was hidden up in these mountains. It's beautiful. I mean, I think you go either way, but they are recommending going counterclockwise for the Alpine Lakes. So, and I guess if you want to do bristlecone and add more to it, you could. But we're going to be going this way over Chanda. And as we go, we're going to just enjoy the scenery up here. It's so quiet, and I'm going to try to keep my voice down too. I didn't read anything about bear being up here. There's nothing in the literature. There's no bear lockers. I didn't bring bear spray. I don't think I need it up here. It's such an isolated mountain. I don't know. Maybe they just don't have them. I do expect me to breathe heavier because I'm already starting to have a little because of the elevation, I think. Like I said, we're about 10,000 feet. So it's enough to make my body work more. And coming off of that treatment, it's gonna be a little rougher for me. We're gonna get her done. I guarantee it. It's only a couple miles. You can see Wheeler Peak. Some people can go up there. They recommend starting in the morning. I don't think you have to camp in between. You can do it in one day. But they recommend starting early because they do get afternoon thunderstorms. You don't want to be caught up there during a thunderstorm. It's very dangerous with lightning. So here we are at a decision point. We have the Glacial Landscape Trail, a 3-mile loop. That takes you back to the trailhead. It's 3 miles. It's this red loop here. So more than 2 actually. The thing I read, I must have misread it. But still 3 miles. That's doable for me. Basically, there are tarn lakes, remnants of the last glacial period. So they're glacially formed lakes. And we talked about in the last episode how this whole valley was covered in giant glacier. And it carved out like a whole valley. So that's what we're gonna see. And there are no fish in the lakes because they're so shallow they freeze solid each winter, it says. So it's supposed to be beautiful. And then if you want, here's the bristlecone pine trail. That's actually, so it's like 4.4 miles. So it's not that much longer, but I'll have to save that for a different time. Whew. Taking a breather. And we're so high up, it's covered in aspen trees up here in the middle of a Nevada sagebrush desert. It just blows my mind. That's what I'm saying. It's like if someone just transported you here didn't tell you where you were and made you guess, your last guess would probably be Nevada, I think. Unless there's something about here that you're an expert and you could spot something. I mean, for the common man like me, I'd have no idea. I would say, I mean, there are places in Utah like this, and there's lots of places like this, Montana too, but I would think Eastern Sierra. Probably the first guess I would have. But I'm sure there's something that gives it away, like the type of pine trees. I don't know what they are. I didn't study on that. But I'm sure there's some giveaways. But for the common person that doesn't know, you know what I'm saying? Doing good though so far. Probably a mile in, if I had to guess. Expecting to see some lake action soon. Has been some uphill though. I don't think there's a lot of elevation gain on this thing, but there's some. Feels like we're coming up out of the forest though, so I'm expecting to see a clearing with a lake soon. And there's Wheeler Peak. Taking a breather, and it's a nice clearing here to check out Wheeler. See some of the snow up there and ice. I did learn, by the way, since the last episode, I don't think those white patches are glacier or leftover glacier ice. It did say there is some, but it's mostly in the rock, it says. So apparently you can hike to it and see. So when they say in the rock, I don't know what that means exactly. Like in the crevices in the rock? Like what? Like underground, maybe? It's kind of what I'm thinking. But I don't think the visible bits can be considered a glacier, nor the remnants of glacial ice. But if I'm wrong on that last point, and we are looking at the remnants of glacial ice, let me know. And if we are, there is not much left. We're not far from the top of the tree line, actually, already. I imagine the first of our lakes, I bet you, is around that bend. Kind of like, I don't know if the term for this area is the cirque, C-I-R-Q-U-E, I think is the term. A glacial thing. I think it's kind of a carved out area. I'm not sure if that's the term for what we're gonna see or just the whole valley, like the U shape that the glacier made. I think some 10,000 years ago, if I remember. I'll explain a little bit more when we get closer, but look at the views up here. If you want to get good views of Wheeler, I think this is one way to do it, as opposed to the overlooks that you get. This might be better. But yeah, I think the top of the tree line is like right there. So I think we're 10,000 feet easily. We've been going up. So I'm gonna guess like 10,500, something like that. And then up there, I don't know if that's the summit up there. If it is, it's like 13,000 something to get up to the top. So another like 3,000 feet. And I can tell you when I started down at the campsite, it was 66 degrees, 63 degrees at the parking lot. And it's just getting hotter. So I think my fears of it being freezing up here were unwarranted too. In fact, this is too hot. I'm gonna have to lose this soon. So Wheeler Peak is like another 3.1 miles away. And Stella Lake, our first stop, is 0.1 miles. So I bet it's right over around that bend. Let's go find out. All right, we found the first of our two glacially formed lakes. I think this is Lake Stella at the base of Wheeler. And there's even a bench here to sit on. How nice. Wow, and I could already see the water is pristine and crystal clear. But remember, there are no fish in this lake because it's too shallow. I can even see out towards the middle, I could see the bottom. So in wintertime, this whole thing freezes solid. So fish couldn't survive because fish need areas below the ice to survive the winter, and they don't get that here. But I almost wonder, not gonna see me do it today, it would be too much of a shock to my system, but now in August, approaching mid-August, I almost wonder, could one swim in this? Probably would be refreshing to say the least, but it's possible, but it's a little chilly out here in the air right now. Let me dip my fingers into it and we'll see. But you see how pristine and clear this water is? And this was formed by glaciers. Now, I don't know if I'm not going to say the existing water is left over from glaciers because water evaporates. I'm guessing it's snowmelt at this point. They probably, I know they close the roads down here in the wintertime, so I'm sure it's covered in snow. And then you get your spring melts, probably feeds this, and then occasional rainstorms, thunderstorms, things like that would be my best guess. But you got these little basins. I don't know if this is what the cirque is. Like, I'm guessing, I speak a little French, so I'm guessing circle or something like that. Like these areas that glaciers carved out. I don't know if that's a term for the whole carved out thing or just these little areas. I didn't really study up on my geology lesson very well before I came out here. So if you want to correct me, please, like for the benefit, not even to correct me, but for the benefit of the audience that reads the comments, feel free to educate and be a mentor and a teacher in our comments. That's always welcome. Just don't be an asshole. That's all I ask. Because there are some that are. Not in our audience, but the passerbys. Here's a nice little spot to dip my fingers in. Now it's close to the shore, so it's probably warmer than other areas. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I got my foot out just in time. I don't need a wet foot on this hike. Well, it's cold. Don't kid yourself. It's cold, but it's not as cold. It's not like shockingly cold. I think you could probably wade out there and swim. It would be really rough at first, but it feels like just cool enough where you'd survive it. Maybe go in for a quick dip, but I didn't read if that's encouraged, discouraged. It's probably fine, but check before you do stuff like that. I don't want to instigate bad behavior. But now that you can see, you tell me, once again, if you were transported here with no knowledge of where you were transported and just plopped down and you were given a quiz saying, okay, like multiple choice, where are you? Like the Sierra Nevada of California, maybe the Rocky Mountains, maybe something like Lassen National Park in Northern California. Granted, you'd recognize this isn't that landscape, but you know what I'm saying? Somewhere in Northern California, Montana, or Nevada. Be honest, which one would you pick? Would you think of Nevada when you see this? Because I sure as heck would not. This resembles nothing like I've seen in this entire state. All I think of Nevada is the basin and range lands and just, you know, endless seas of sagebrush with mountains. And as far as the eye can see, like the sea that surrounds this like sky island that we're on, basically a sea of sagebrush. That's what I think of Nevada when I think of Nevada. Not this. I finally took time to learn though why it's called Great Basin. You know, I mean the national park and the Great Basin, which is way bigger than the national park. It actually goes all the way to the Eastern Sierra, the region called the Great Basin. Probably just put a map up on the screen while I talk. And then I think further east into Utah, further north out of Nevada, and then south into Nevada, really big landmass. So the concept of the basin is that rivers and creeks flow into this region, but they don't flow out. There's nowhere for them to go. So it's like a big basin collecting water. Water will flow into little lakes and stuff, and it just basically evaporates. So it doesn't flow out to the ocean. And I surmise that it's probably why you have so many salt lakes out here, because that's the remnant of that. You know, like Great Salt Lake, I don't know if that's officially in the Great Basin. It might be on the edge, but you know, things like that. That's why we have the Salt Lake, is water flows in, but it doesn't go anywhere. So then all the evaporation happens and all the salt and stuff is left behind. Don't quote me on if the Salt Lake is considered part of the Great Basin, but I think it's the right idea. But driving around in Nevada, you see a lot of that, like white alkaline landscapes and stuff. So it makes sense to me. And you don't see rivers and streams like you do where we came from, like in the Grand Tetons or, you know, the Flathead River and stuff like that. You don't have a lot of that here. Now it makes total sense. The Great Basin. But this, I mean, there's nobody here either. I am the only one on this trail. I saw a couple going up the summit and coming down, but I have not seen a single person on this trail yet. And I'm in kind of like getting into prime time national park visitor hours. It's a Sunday during the summer, the perfect time to visit. maybe the perfect month even, August, for something like this. And it's testament to that. This is one of the lesser visited national parks. So it's a very different experience than you'd have at anywhere else I've been. Good luck doing this at Glacier or Grand Teton. No way. I almost say this is a must-do also to get views of Wheeler. The overlooks are decent. They're actually not the best to get the best views of this, to be honest. I think we're in it now, in this like depression where the glacier used to sit. And you get direct views. You're actually not far from that snowpack up there. We'll probably get even closer. I bet that other lake is somewhere off that direction too. But I would love, maybe that's a good thing to work up to, is it's not a 14er, but maybe I'll have to like hike Humphrey Peak and kind of work my way up to 13ers, like 12,000 footers and 13,000 footers. And it'll be my post-cancer healing journey, is starting to summit peaks like this. I think I could do this with a few months of training and getting back into good enough shape. I'm gonna make that a goal one day. We're gonna come back here, I'm gonna declare it now, and on a future episode, maybe next year, the year after, we're gonna do that thing. Whew. When that breeze blows down that mountain though, and you're in the shade, I need my hoodie again. Step out into the sun, it's too hot for the hoodie. It's a very fine line up here, believe me. Whew. The word I would use is refreshing. And as for the hike itself, this is pleasant. Probably over halfway done at this point if I had to guess. It's just beautiful back here and so quiet. Still haven't seen anybody. And those views of Wheeler back there, Wheeler Peak, wow, perfection. Should have a nice view here of Wheeler. Look at that. I'm guessing that's the official peak, the summit, based on how the trail layout is. I could be wrong. I don't know if that's the highest point. There's some other high points on this side too. If you know, comment down below. I could look at a map later and figure it out. Didn't think to do it though. But wow, we are getting really close actually to the edge of this. I wasn't expecting that. It's a bonus. And still, now you're seeing that ice and snow up there still, in those crevices up there. This is, magical is really the only word that comes to mind this morning for me. Magical. You know, I spend a lot of time in my pickup truck on the show, sitting on my butt, doing cool stuff, going way out in the middle of nowhere, down bumpy forest roads and old mining roads. You guys should know that by now. Got lazy about the hiking. Haven't really done anything like this, maybe in over a year, I don't remember. But this is really bringing it all back to me, and I think on this show I need to do a lot more hiking adventures too and mix that in. You know, things worthy like this. Because, you know, once you get the blood flowing and moving, it's so good for you. The air is so fresh here. So nice and cool right now. Perfect. So, I'm gonna try to make a commitment to do that, but only the finest. Only the finest. Wow, look at this. I see the other lake too. So I wonder if this is drainage into that lake. If so, it's dried up right now. But I bet you that's exactly what this is these verdant lined small little creeks or something here flowing directly into there to feed it with summer rains and snow melt. How beautiful. And it all is deposited here with really nowhere to go. The lakes kind of look smaller and they're probably not at their full capacity, I'm gonna guess. This one's even smaller than Stella. This is Teresa, I think. I do have something I can look up in my bag really quick that we'll check out. I think the trail continues up that way when we're done here, but we'll come down here and check this out. It's a small one. Stella's definitely, ooh, it's hot again. Stella's definitely my favorite of the two for more than one reason. And there's deer. Look, 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 look. They're coming to quench their thirst. It's a baby too. I don't know what kind those are. They don't look like mule deer, but they might be. Typically the advice is stay 25 yards away from that kind of wildlife and like 100 yards away from dangerous wildlife like bear, if you see them, like so a whole football field. But I do try to respect and keep my distance because I don't like to bother these things. They're just here living their life, doing the deer thing, and you know, why annoy them? So I don't like this as much as Stella because it's smaller, but I think where those deer are standing, to me that looks like where the water would normally go up to. So it's probably just dried up and evaporated late summer. So there's that. But you also don't really get the view of Wheeler as good. The trees are blocking the view. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful up here. I'm not trying to undersell it, but Stella's definitely, if you had to pick one over the other, I think Stella wins out over this, but I think the mama deer had her fill of water and they're slowly walking back up towards the woods now. I'm keeping far enough from them that I don't think they feel threatened. They glance back here every once in a while, see what I'm up to, but for the most part, I'm no threat. I think they know that. They're probably somewhat used to people too back in this part. Anyway, I imagine if that was at its full capacity, it would be a little bit better. And if their wind wasn't blowing, you could get like glass sometimes, and the tree reflections could be really nice. You got some now, I see, but the wind is starting to ripple the water a bit. So anyway, this is the second of the two lakes. This is Lake Teresa, Teresa, the second of the two Alpine lakes. And there's one more that we're not going to see, I think, somewhere back there called Lake Brown. But I think these are the two on the tour. And that little baby, the smaller deer, any movement I make, it's very skeptical and it looks at me. And sometimes if I move too fast, it'll start to go back cautiously and then come back to the mama. The mama doesn't care at all. She doesn't pay me any mind. So I guess she's the one that's used to people up here. But I'm gonna try to just quietly go up the trail and not bother them at this point. Leave them to their whatever they're doing. I think they're eating some of the grasses that are growing out of the rocks here. So say hi everybody to YouTube and the Cactus Atlas. Say bye now. Everybody on the TV, say bye dear, bye. Alrighty, so mission accomplished. We'll walk up here and maybe get some views of the lake from up high. But we're essentially heading back to the vehicle now, the truck. And then I got a treat in store for the drive back down that I think you're gonna enjoy, so don't go anywhere. We are closer to the two this way. Now see, I started talking and the little one is walking away. So is the mama a little bit. I'm gonna stop talking. But we're gonna probably cross paths if we're not careful. You guys better watch out. And you do get good views of the lake. Lake Teresa from up here, you could see in the center. I can't see the bottom, so it's deep enough for that. But certainly a kind of a puddle. And that one freezes over in the winter too. So no fish. The little one still has the white spots on it. Oh, there they go. It's trying to be slow and careful, but I have no choice. This is my route back. Don't be fearful, guys. Probably one of the most gentle people you'll ever meet. All right, we're back at the car. That actually was a pretty short walk back once we got to Teresa. So I think they start you off on the longer leg. Just it felt that way. I didn't really measure it, but seemed to get back here pretty quickly. Didn't film the rest of the walk because you pretty much got the gist of it at that point. But now, a special treat. I'm gonna take you back down the mountain. This is the last time I plan on being up here on this trip, by the way, because we're leaving tomorrow. But we're gonna take you down so I can show off some of those expansive views that I promised on the last week's episode. Because really there's not great pull-offs to see the sea of sagebrush that this mountain grows out of. The dry sagebrush desert landscape that surrounds the Great Basin National Park. I don't know if they refer to it as a sky island in my state, like the Chiricahua Mountains, places like that are known as sky islands because they're surrounding really arid, deserty terrain. And then you got these mountains that just are there that have their own ecosystems like this. Like you don't have pine trees down at the bottom. Only on these isolated mountaintops will you find this and certain types of wildlife. It's amazing. So usually we call these things sky islands. I'm assuming this would qualify as one, but when we're coming down out of it, you can really get a view of what I'm talking about here shortly. So let's just enjoy this together. This is one of my favorite parts of, I would say the ride down is more thrilling and better than the ride up, in my opinion, because you don't really get those views on the way up because they're behind you. That hike was fantastic. I love that. That was perfect for me in my current, state of physical fitness. I could probably handle more than that. I'm sure I could handle more than that at this point. I felt good. The elevation, at first, I thought I was gonna have problems, but after I got moving, I was fine. I caught my breath, wasn't even really huffing and puffing that much. So I would say, I would agree with the pamphlet. I think what I did is rated as an easy hike. It's probably bordering moderate for some. If I was a little bit weaker, I might even call it moderate, but for me it was just perfect. I can't remember exactly where the drop-offs are. They're starting to see it actually if you look. Hopefully we caught those little clearings, but you'll get some good ones. This is the best part up here when you see it because we're at the highest point you can really go in a vehicle. But even as you go down the mountain, you're still so far up. There's your sign, 10,000 feet elevation right there, proving it. So definitely one of the taller mountain adventures I've done in a very, very long time on this channel. Still amazed that this exists in this area. And we already checked out overlooks yesterday. We did all of these overlooks on the last episode, and they're cool, they're okay. They really, there's not a lot of opportunities. The trees block the views a lot of the time. And when you do get openings, you can only really see them from the vehicle, which is why I'm doing this now. But isn't this beautiful with all the aspen trees? You'll see the vegetation change on this drive down too. So just burn this into your mind for now and then remember this later on. And when we leave here tomorrow morning, you'll really get a sense when we get back out into the sagebrush deserts of the Great Basin. Another elevation sign. We're now at 9,500, so we've only gone down about 500 feet since the 10,000 foot sign. But hopefully you could see enough through the pokes in the trees at times to understand the sky island concept. It's like you're way up here in your own little, like you're on Mount Olympus almost, looking down on the world at all the people. Like you're a god, Zeus. Here we go. This one should give you a kind of a good view, I think. Still some bushes here, but notice there's no pine trees anymore, like tall pine trees. It's more like pinyon pine and juniper. This is what I was thinking of, basically, I think yesterday. You can see there's no shoulder to pull off on. So it's like, to get pictures or views of that, you almost have to do it from the car, but this says it all. Even though we've come down maybe about 1,000 feet, I'm estimating, we still feel like we're sitting way up on top of the world. See? Think of the pine trees, think of the aspen trees, and then look out beyond. Here we go. I think we're gonna, this is the best part, I think, or some of the best parts coming up with these curves. You can see up the mountain, you can see down the mountain, and you see the vegetation constantly changing with every drop in elevation. It's like little juniper trees now, and other, I don't know what the bushes are. I don't know every single plant. There's a little good turnout, actually. I think I did that one yesterday to give you a view on foot. Pretty sure I did that one. That's probably your best one for that kind of view, actually. There's like one stop. And then there's some other stops, but you have to like, you get like poked through the trees to see it. There you go. It just stretches on it. It is very much like an ocean. That concept of being on like a Hawaiian island, and you just substitute the blue water for that, and then the far off mountains would be the other islands that if you've ever been to the Hawaiian Islands, you know how from some of them you could see other islands across the water. It's like that to me. You just substitute the blue for the brown, and then you got the same thing. And each island, I think, probably has its own ecosystem, you know, not dissimilar from this one. You can actually see Wheeler Peak way up there, where we were actually hiking up against the side of that not that long ago. Today, that's just amazing to me. It is a fantastic national park, though. It's so glad I finally got out here, because I don't know when the next time I'll have that opportunity is. It's when I do, though, I'm coming back to do Wheeler Peak, like I said. That's a new goal of mine. I'll probably work my way up to it. I'll probably start in Flagstaff and do Humphrey Peak again as my first. I think that's like either 11,000 something feet, I think. I don't think it breaks 12,000, but I was up at the peak of that. I have a picture of myself to prove it. That was years ago. And that's the highest peak I've ever climbed, and haven't done anything since. But I've always wanted to kind of start there and then gradually add more elevation until probably Mount Whitney will probably be my final goal. You know, maybe I'll get hooked on it and do more after Mount Whitney. I don't ever see myself being an Everest kind of guy or gal. That's too much. But who knows? People change. Maybe the bug will bite me. But there we go. Again, look. You can see the farmland below too, those circular plots down there. So cool. So absolutely cool. All right, we just passed elevation 8,000 feet, so we've come down 2,000 feet. Isn't it crazy? We've come down that 2,000 feet, but I still feel like we're in an airplane looking down below, and now we got the really nice clear view. It's just like you're in a plane. Like you see you know, when you first take off and things are getting smaller and smaller, and you start to see the farmland laid out like you see below. If you could just like use your mind's eye to like blot out the trees and the road, I mean, we could totally pretend we're flying. Oop, there's my campground actually, but I guess let's just keep going. I'll probably just go make a beeline for these Camp View drive-thrus that I gotta do, the next two.
And then we'll, then I may, depending on how much time I have left, I might just come back up. The visitor center isn't far from here, where not the visitor center, but where the cave tour is, for my 2 p.m. call time. That's our next activity today, though, folks, so don't go anywhere. I'm trying to give you a good sampling of everything, the scenic beauty, a hike, and underground. All right, I'm gonna kind of get situated and ready, find a place to pull over to mount cameras and do my research really quick on these other 2 campgrounds of Great Basin National Park. I'll keep popping my ears, and then I'll have to re-pop them on the way up, back and forth. But we'll check in after I'm done with my camp view work, which for you guys is probably here really shortly, maybe even after a commercial break. Depends on if YouTube wants to show one or not. All right, I've completed the campground drive-throughs. I'm actually in one of the campgrounds now, departing. This would be Gray Cliffs Campground. I think there's only 3 loops here. And one of them has a road closed sign on it, which is really annoying as a camp view documenter. That happens sometimes. I don't know. They close down sections, I guess. Maybe it's a staffing issue. I don't know. How do I get out of here now? That's Loop A. And there weren't that many sites in here. So hopefully I didn't miss anything. But these are the ones where I'm like, do I even bother with this? Putting it on there? Because it's incomplete. I can show what I had, but then I noticed there were a lot of campsites that didn't have posts on them. So I don't know if they're undergoing a renumbering of the sites or whatever at Gray Cliffs Campground here. So we'll see. I did what I could film. Sometimes you win, you mostly win, but then you lose some. I don't think there's anything else further down that way. Pole Canyon. Trailhead. Picnic area. I don't think there's any more sites down there. So anyway, kind of a confusing one here. And then Loop B was completely closed off. I'll be honest. I'm not trying to cause problems, but my thought is a lot of national parks do this, especially when it's weird to do it in season, but they'll close down half, like at Joshua Tree, for example. I went and documented those, and half the campgrounds were like, they would close off half of them. So you could like film half, and then they'd have like gates so you couldn't get into the rest. I think just mainly because there's no point for them to staff it up to like spread people out that much when it's not being fully utilized. I get that. This one, maybe it's the same thing, I don't know. So this time, I was like, I'm just gonna go back there anyway. And you know, I don't know if the road's deteriorated or there's a problem, I'll back out. So I tried, and then I saw there was people back there. I'm guessing staff. So I didn't want to get in trouble. So I just immediately turned around and went back out. But my thought was, hey, if they're just doing that, that's the perfect opportunity for me to go in there and film it, because then everything's vacant. But I was like, I don't want to break rules, and I don't know if anybody would really care if I did that. It's probably not a big deal, but anyway. Not a fan of these like campgrounds as much as the ones up the ways where we're staying. And if you're towing something, you might want to think about this, because there are a lot of tent only sites back there and loops you can't even get on. So pay attention to that. And the washboards on this road are horrible. I would say the worst on the entire trip I've taken. The road looks fine at a glance, but my goodness, they're, especially that, maybe we'll hit some, but my goodness, wow. Like I thought my teeth were gonna be rattled out of my head. So anyway, though, that really should close the book, I think, on all the campgrounds here at Great Basin that I could get. And one of them, Lower Lehman, unfortunately, is completely closed. That one looks like, to me, what probably happened, I could be wrong, but that creek area, I think that maybe they had a bad storm and it washed something out and they're back there repairing it. They have that one I couldn't get into if I wanted to, so it's completely blocked off. And I don't want to get into the business of
breaking the rules anyway. And I told you a little secret there. I was gonna give it a try the first time I've ever done it. I was like, gosh darn it, I really don't want an incomplete campground again. But that one Gray Cliffs may just go into the garbage bin, because like I said, not only that, one of the loops, Loop C, clearly there were sites that aren't being utilized, and they removed I think there were only like 2 or 3 sites on that loop that had posts on them. So something doesn't feel right. So being as though we don't have the cave tour until 2 p.m., and it's my call time once again, I'm gonna go back to my campground and just chill, eat lunch for once, and go at a nice slow pace, and then we'll hook up again when it's time for the cave tour, which is probably really soon for you, like instantly almost, next scene.
Or maybe the wait might be a bit longer. This video is already long enough. And honestly, the cave had some unique aspects that we haven't seen before in other cave explores we've done. You just have to see it. So tune in next time as we explore Lehman Caves. See you then!